My name is James P. Madonna of Progressive Discussions and Mega Life 21, as seen on the web. And this is my debut on MobCam, which is a fantastic program that allows you to stream to multiple locations at the same time, simultaneously. So right now I am streaming to my Progressive Discussions YouTube channel, which should be seen at the top of the YouTube channel. And I am also streaming to my Progressive Discussions Facebook page, which can also be seen at the top. This is Shootin' the Shit. Today's idiot Americans are their own worst enemy, part 1. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. So far, I am really liking MobCam quite a bit. Now, I want to start off by talking about all of these imbecile, whiny, bitching and moaning Americans, protesting Americans, mostly these flag-waving right-wingers that live in the southern states and out west. The obsessive, fanatical constitutionalists that always thinks that government is going to take their precious guns away, which never happened. Obama never took their guns away, by the way. These people are protesting the guidelines by the CDC and the World Health Organization and the top epidemiologists, infectious doctors, protesting the wearing of masks and social distancing. I don't even know if they're really sanitizing their hands or not, like they're supposed to. So they're bitching and moaning about their constitutional rights. Oh, you have no right to tell me that I have to social distance and wear a mask. You're infringing on my constitutional right. Well, guess what? You are infringing on the rights of other healthy people by spraying your respiratory droplets, whether they be aerosol or not, on someone else and infecting them. Just like a fucking smoker thinks they have the right to blow their smoke anywhere they want. No, you don't have the right to subject other people to your secondhand smoke. You don't have the right to smoke indoors in other people's presence, not even opening up a window, or going outside of a restaurant or bar and smoking right by the entrance to the bar or restaurant, so non-smokers can walk right into the cloud when they vacate, when they leave. Well, 2 people said they were going to watch my show, and I don't see any indicator that they're here. And they were so worried that I was, going to start at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and they're not here. Well, I'm going to talk about multiple subjects. I'm not going to talk about just one subject because I'm not a social media fanatical cultist that just talks about one thing all the time. That's called fanaticism. These people don't realize it, but they're part of a cult. It could be anything. It could be craft beer. It could be physical fitness. It could be vegans, animal rights nuts, PETA organization, animal rights nuts and fanatics that are forcing their vegan lifestyle on other people. But these are fanatical lunatics, in my opinion. So, excuse me while I drink my black very strong dark roast Sumatra coffee. In my Fiesta style mug, which I got from the Dollar Tree for only $1. Remember, the educated consumer is the best customer. Okay, like my late great Uncle Phil used to say, prestige is only in the mind. You know, like these yuppies that have to have designer everything. That you slap a designer name on something and you charge multiple times the fair retail price for it. You charge astronomical prices, and the yuppies go around thinking, "Oh, I'm better than you. Oh, my gym mats, my gymnasium mats at home are better than yours because they came from a famous company." A famous company. Oh, guess what? I have a stack of gym mats. I'd say 90% of them I got for free because they were donated near like a Salvation Army type bin by Walmart. They were in perfect condition. They're exactly the same type of material, exactly the same thickness as a sporting goods gym mat, which costs a lot more. Okay, and I grabbed them. They were in perfect condition. I washed them, I sanitized them, and I have gym mats all over the living room floor in my area that I call the studio, the personal training Studio 54. It's my own little personal training studio that I made, and I have enough gym mats and power bands and Indian clubs and exercise equipment to last me probably a lifetime because I take good care of them. But anyway, getting back to these whining, flag-waving, right-wing, often evangelical zealots that are bitching and moaning that they have to wear a mask and social distance during this COVID-19 pandemic. Well, I got news for you. You people are selfish. Like my Chinese friend said, Americans have way too much freedom. And during a crisis, during a national crisis, you have to be willing to suck it up and sacrifice some things. You have to bite the bullet, suck it up and sacrifice. Make personal sacrifices. My grandparents and great-grandparents told me stories about the Great Depression and World War II when Americans had to suck it up and make personal sacrifices, and they did it so well. People of that generation were not lazy, they were not spoiled and coddled. They did make personal sacrifices, and you know what? The family stuck together and they did just fine. But today's Americans, particularly the entitled millennials, are unwilling to make personal sacrifices. During a worldwide crisis like the pandemic. First of all, many of them down south and out west, in the southwest, I read between the lines, and these people are still fighting the Civil War. They just don't admit it. They show it in their racism, but the fact that everything that comes out of Washington or the World Health Organization or the CDC, they are so rebellious and they reject the information that they should be following. And these people, by the comments they make, always putting down big government, and never putting down corporate CEOs, which makes them corporate whores. I read between the lines based on the many comments they make, and it's obvious that they are pandering, ass-kissing capitalists, flag wavers, false patriots. They're company people because they're always bashing government. Meanwhile, big government still does it better than the private sector. I mean, overall, they still take care of the people a lot better. Look at Scandinavia, the most perfect socialist system ever created. These people are obviously still fighting the Civil War. They're rebellious fools. They reject science. They only listen to their own stupid, unproven ideology. Their perception means nothing because they have no proven scientific facts. They only have theories. Many perceptions are based on theories. So it doesn't hold any water. It doesn't hold any water whatsoever. So they're idiots. That's why the COVID-19 numbers are spiking in states like Florida, Georgia. They say Alabama's spiking. Texas is spiking the worst, and Arizona. Even Nevada and California, which opened up too early, started spiking, which I'm very surprised at Governor Newsom in California because he's a Democrat, but he can't be a progressive Democrat because he kowtowed to the right-wing capitalists, and he reopened California way too early. Way too early. So this is what we have. Of course, the corrupt, oligarch-owned and controlled American U.S. media and the DNC with the scrawny, bucktooth beaver of weasel Tom Perez. They rigged the Democratic primaries, and they have obviously selected, along with all the imbecile American voters, they selected a centrist corporatist, a corporate whore that rode Barack Obama's coattails for 8 years and voted very corporatist when he was young. Sleepy, touchy-feely Joe Biden, Mr. Hairy Legs himself. They selected him, the man that stutters and stammers and obviously has a touch of mental decline, instead of a real fighter for the American people, a real left-wing progressive, Bernie Sanders. They screwed over Bernie Sanders once again, just like Deborah Wasserman Schultz, or I call her Deborah Wasser Cunt Schitz, did in 2016. They screwed over Bernie Sanders again in 2020. And instead of doing the right thing, unfortunately, raisin balls, passive Bernie Sanders did not form the third new Socialist People's political party, like his wife Jane Sanders said before the primaries began, that if the Democrats don't move farther to the left and they don't move off center, we are going to form a new, truly progressive People's Party. Well, guess what? Between the Sanders, Jane and Bernie, and his organization, Our Revolution, with Nina Turner, that party has never been created. So I think a lot of fake, phony, fraud, so-called progressives did not move to the left, and they sold out their voters, their people, for the big mamu, the big payoffs. Now remember, Jesse Ventura once said that a politician is not obligated to meet with lobbyists, and that's so true. But evidently, many Democrats have sold out. Most of the Democratic candidates in the primaries for 2020 were obviously corporate whores, and they sold out to the fat cats, to the oligarch. And for this statement, for this very statement, that scrawny, corporate, greedy weasel CEO of Twitter permanently terminated my account on Twitter, and I had an established Twitter profile. So that's why I am unable to also live stream on Twitter, and I can only live stream on Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, he took away my First Amendment rights of freedom of speech. He applied corporate fascist censorship, that weasel with keyboard courage, the CEO of Twitter, and he permanently terminated my account and my ability to set up another account with a different email address, because they always ask you for your phone number. Now naturally your phone number doesn't change. So well, evidently the people that were so anxious to join my show did not, because I did not want to fanatically just talk about one subject. Interesting. Well, I refuse to be one of those social media cultist, fanatical nuts. You know, those people with a mental disorder that obsessively talk about the same subject day in and day out. Those people, they belong in a padded room. So, moving on to the next subject, I just want to say Bernie Sanders happens to be on the ballot in the state of New Jersey here. I'm broadcasting from northeastern New Jersey. I'm originally from the land of bada bings, Lodi, New Jersey, but I now reside near the Hudson River, but still in Bergen County. I can see Manhattan very clearly down the hill. But Bernie Sanders is on the ballot in New Jersey, and I will be voting for Bernie Sanders, even though he did fold like a cheap camera, him and his wife and Nina Turner of Our Revolution, by not creating that new Socialist People's Political Party that takes no contributions from the fat cats, from the oligarch. Therefore, they owe no favors to the oligarch, which is the top 1% of corporations. If you don't take huge contributions, and you don't meet with lobbyists and make an agreement with them, you owe no favors to them. Legos has, M-U, Mu Legos. What is up? What's up? Well, I covered some important topics. I'm broadcasting from the Facebook Progressive Discussions page and YouTube. And of course I mentioned how I was unfairly terminated on Twitter because I made true statements about the Democrat primary candidates being corporate whores. I especially attacked the most obvious corporate whores, which was the nasal twang, shaky Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg, Mr. Wine Cave himself. And that's how I got my Twitter account terminated. Otherwise, I would be live streaming on 3 platforms: Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. But no, I'm on Tumblr, but Mobcam does not give me the option of live streaming to Tumblr, at least not yet. So, I was just saying that I have a couple friends that thought I was going to fanatically just talk about physical fitness and health and nutrition and not talk about politics. Well, you know what? It's my show. I like to be well-rounded. I'm not a fanatical cultist on social media. I don't talk about the same thing day in and day out. Okay, I like to be a well-rounded person, and I pretty much covered politics. We all know that the top 1% has had this capitalist system rigged since 1776, and the only way we can stop it is if we, the people, in very massive numbers, make it their business to get out and vote. I think the numbers, when they add up, overwhelm the population of the top 1%. I think the mail-in ballots on paper is an outstanding idea. Of course, Donald Trump doesn't like it. He says it's rigged. No. It's rigged if it's all electronic. Then he can have his people tinker with it. You know, I mean, a conservative right-winger, since they don't have proven scientific facts to back up their debates, their only other option is to cheat in an election. Well, they cheat when they run for office. They use gerrymandering. They use voter suppression, like voter IDs, with American citizens that really only need to show their digital driver's license because they submitted their birth certificate to get the photo driver's license, so that should be sufficient. But no, they want to make poor people, low-income people, purchase a separate voter ID, and with gerrymandering and everything, and it cuts the poor and the elderly and the disabled out of the election, or it greatly lowers their easy option to vote. So you have that. Then you have super delegates, which should be abolished. Regular delegates should be abolished. The Electoral College should be abolished, but it hasn't. It should be only, it should be only one person and one vote. Just like a professional sports team wins their world championships by who scores the most points. When a horse tries to win the Triple Crown, a racing horse, it's the first nose on a horse that crosses the finish line. Forget about the horse's front hooves. The horse's schnozola, the nose that crosses the finish line, wins the race. Well, why can't it be that way with politics? Why can't it be that way, right? It's really not rocket science. Most of life is just common sense, you know, street smarts. Many of the progressive candidates that are young and won their congressional seats, like the squad members, they're not rocket scientists. They're not even lawyers. They don't have a college degree in like constitutional law. They come from everyday walks of life. Joe Sixpacks. So, and they won because I think Americans are getting angry at business as usual. They're backed up against the wall in the corner. They're barely making ends meet. They're not making a living wage. They're in very deep debt, you know, especially students. where public universities education should be a right and they should be tuition free, as well as health care should be free to everyone. And yes, the rich have been on a tax vacation for decades since Ronald Reagan changed that tax system. The rich should be paying not only their fair share, but the bulk of the taxes. They might lie to you and say they do, but not really. The middle class has the tax burden. The middle class is Main Street. Okay, small emerging growth companies, small businesses, small retail businesses, mom and pop stores, professionals that have their own office, like CPAs and chiropractors and dentists, all these self-employed professionals. These people are all part of the middle class, which is the #1 consumer in the United States. I mean, how many refrigerators does the very rich buy? And how many yachts can they collect taxes off? All right, so you have the #1 consumer, the #1 job provider, the middle class. The backbone of the economy is the middle class. So why is the middle class carrying the tax burden? Well, they're carrying the tax burden because the right-wing capitalist politicians meet with corporate lobbyists, and the corporate CEOs pay them off, and they expect the laws to be in their favor. So therefore the taxification still exists, and it continues. It's like feudalism and imperialism back in the old days. So my friend picked me up and said, "You want to go see your old buddy bouncing at this nightclub called the Beer Garden in Hoboken, New Jersey?" And I said, "Oh, sure." So what does the guy do? He picks me up not wearing a mask. Well, guess what? I had my good mask on, my washable black mask used by mechanics when they paint cars. It's a really good, durable dust mask that you can wash with a bar of soap in the sink, in the kitchen sink, like where I wash my hands when I come home. I wash my keys, I wash the dust mask with good old-fashioned soap. So anyway, I go to the Beer Garden. He's a guy in his 50s that still thinks he's 21 years old. I guess he's so concerned with picking up chicks that he doesn't want to wear a mask. Well, guess what? The place was loaded with millennials sitting close together indoors, even though it was open to the outside atmosphere. They were technically still indoors. I don't know how they come to that logic, the city of Hoboken, but unless they were doing it in a sneaky way. So the millennials were packed, sitting in chairs very close to each other, shooting and spraying their respiratory droplets all over the place. And they had no masks on, no masks at all. So I mentioned, does the Hoboken Health Department know about this? So my friend got mad and he says, "You're going to get me laid off. You're going to have this nightclub closed down, and I'm going to be out of a bouncing job." I said, "Well, why don't you enforce the rules?" And this is the kind of American people, millennials, that are supposed to be running this world. This is the problem they have. Now, I notice we have another issue where I'm supposed to be streaming to the Progressive Discussion Facebook page, and I'm supposed to be streaming to the Progressive Discussions YouTube channel, but my friend says I'm not appearing. So here we have another a smartphone app with glitches, just like Facebook's Messenger. Incompetent programmers that don't know their ass from their elbow. They're probably a bunch of young punks in college working as interns for no pay, and they don't have the brain cells to make a program that works. So anyway, I want to touch upon capitalist scams in physical fitness. I have a group on Facebook called International Brotherhood of Pahlivans. Okay, spelled capital P-A-H L-A-V-A-N-S, Pahlivans. It was created in honor of the great WWE Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer, the Iron Sheik, Khosrow Vaziri, when he used to bring the Persian clubs in the ring and issue the Persian Club Challenge. And no American athlete was able to properly swing the Iron Sheik's clubs. So as a kid, I was so mesmerized by the Iron Sheik and his promos and his athletic ability that I started searching for a company that makes the Persian clubs. Now, it took years. I couldn't find it. And I worked for Independent Circuit Pro Wrestling for 10 years, and I got to meet and work with the Iron Sheik. I had that great honor. And he told me, just make up your own Persian clubs. You don't worry about finding the real ones. Just make something up. He says, I've done it after my Persian clubs got stolen from the back room during a wrestling event, pro wrestling event. Those original Persian clubs of the Iron Sheik got stolen. So he had to make up his own. So, knowing how picky I am and fussy, I couldn't make up my own. I wanted the real thing. So eventually, I was picking brains, and Mr. Julio Anta of Miami Kettlebell and Kung Fu Training, Kung Fu Academy, bless his heart, he told me about this company that makes wooden Indian clubs and Persian clubs called revolutionclubs.net. By the owner is Mr. Christian Darce, and he's the wood turner. So I procured 2 pairs of Persian clubs that I still use today. Never underestimate them. They are deceivingly, extremely difficult because of torque, because most of the weight is on one end. And I have a pair of polypropylene injected molded 3-pound Indian clubs that I got from Amazon Prime at only $60, which is half the price of the wooden Indian clubs. I had wooden Indian clubs, but they cracked. Wood has a tendency, if you don't prepare it properly before you put it on a lathe, it has a tendency to crack. So, being that I'm so fussy, the cracks were a little too big and long, I sold them. So I got this polypropylene, which is one of the toughest synthetic materials known to mankind. I mean, it really is. And they work great. Of course, I got my gym mats for free. I was lucky. So, there are, capitalist greed is no stranger to physical fitness. So these people started doing circular training, physical fitness seminars, charging people several hundred to $1,000 a head. Meanwhile, these individuals have no physical fitness, health, nutrition, exercise credentials. They have no credentials whatsoever, like I do. They just got lucky through marketing and promoting, having some expert carnival snake oil charlatan advertising experts promote them and create banners. So through constant self-promotion, they started doing seminars locally, and then they worked their way out. Now they're doing seminars all over the world. They don't have the credentials to teach people, and what happens is to justify their 2 or 3 hour seminar or workshop, they tell a lot of stories and jokes to fill up time, and they do very little teaching, because the actual teaching part of a pair of Persian or Indian clubs, or Persian meals, or anything, or a kettlebell, all the teaching is really covering a few basic movements. There's only a few basic swings that these devices were invented for. And the rest is all stories and jokes with them walking back and forth. So they're really carnival pitchmen. They're snake oil charlatans designed to make people part with their hard-earned money. Suckers, mostly young people that are impressionable, like millennials. They sucker them to attend their seminars and steal their money. And they laugh all the way to the bank. Now, there is now, because of one person that is located in Southern California and is about 6'5", who originally is only a forklift operator in a warehouse. Now that he started this scam and spread it worldwide, this so-called Australian, well, he's a British guru now in circular training, originally a teacher in the United Kingdom. Now he owns a few businesses in Perth, Australia, and he's a short guy, you know, not tall. He has no physical fitness, exercise, kinesiology, health and nutrition background either. He has no credentials. Now, he became a guru through marketing, just like the tall man from Southern California with the thin mustache. He became a guru through marketing alone. Gotta love that capitalism, I'm telling you, how it deceives people. And now he's duping people out of their hard-earned money. Now, another person with even less credentials is trying to do seminars. One of them's a female from southern Connecticut, southeastern Connecticut, and she's one of those militant feminists with a chip on her shoulder. She has an organization that she now calls Female Empowerment, and she doesn't even do the exercises swinging the mace or anything properly. She swings the mace with her hands far apart. She suckered the owner of a very large gym to be the venue for her seminars, and she became a promoter, and she now thinks that she's qualified to give seminars in circular training. Meanwhile, you do not ever keep your hands far apart when you're swinging a mace or a gada, as they say in India. These people have no credentials. She has no credentials. So since the man from Perth, Australia, is very smitten with her, and he has a lot of money, he arranged for this woman, who is not a fitness celebrity in any stretch of the imagination, because he has a crush on her, he has arranged his business partner to manufacture wooden Indian clubs with her signature on it. Now, and to jack up the price, just like he had his signature series Indian clubs made. Now, these people are not household words in the fitness industry. If you go and walk up to any person and ask them, do you know such and such? Or you go into a gymnasium and you ask any young man working out in there, do you know these people? They'll say, who the hell are they? I never heard of them. But apparently, these people who are legends in their own mind think that the clubs are worth a lot more money with their signature on it, and they were produced. It's not like it's a famous athlete with his or her signature on the Indian clubs. First of all, circular training is a very small circle. It's not a big community. The swinging of the mace, Indian clubs, Persian or Joris clubs, Persian meals or Joris, or doing push-ups on a Shena board. It's a very tiny percentage of the population that really knows about it. What made circular training a bit more popular in the West is MMA. Some famous mixed martial arts competitive athletes started training with, let's say, steel mace, and it caught on, and it gained a little popularity, somewhat, especially kettlebells, number one, and the mace secondary. A little popularity, but most people really haven't heard of circular training, and they definitely never heard of these people, these individuals. So they're out there getting people to part with their hard-earned money thanks to shady, sleazy capitalism, just like the carnival barkers used to do back in the day. And but smart people from the physical fitness, health and nutrition background, like myself, I'm a certified personal trainer and nutritional consultant. I have 5 health, fitness, strength training, and nutritional diplomas, and I know what I'm talking about. These people just use clever marketing to promote themselves. So this is another segment of how capitalism is proven to fail for the lower 98%. It's proven evil since 1776. Yes, 1776. The founding fathers, who were very wealthy Caucasian landowners who kept slaves, when they said all men are created equal, what they really meant was all rich white men were created equal. Rich Caucasian men were created equal. And these men were landowners. They had plantations. They had slaves. In the Northeast, they had slaves. All men are created equal. It did not involve blacks. It did not involve indigenous Native Americans. It did not even involve women back then. You had to be a wealthy Caucasian landowner when the colonies won their independence from England, from the King George of England. Now, so the system has always been rigged for the top 2%, which is actually the top 1%, because rich people do stab each other in the back when it comes to money and greed. J.P. Morgan did it to his rich buddies during the Industrial Revolution. He stabbed the greatest genius scientist who ever lived, Nikola Tesla, in the back, and went with the sellout Thomas Edison. He went with the sellout, suck-up Thomas Edison. That's why you read about Thomas Edison in history books, but never Nikola Tesla or Dr. Wilhelm Reich. another great bearer of truth. Because these people would not sell out. Okay, Nikola Tesla proved that the Earth's ground and atmosphere is loaded with electricity, and he can provide free electricity to the entire world, which did not set well with the greedy, evil J.P. Morgan. So Thomas Edison agreed to sell electricity, so he sold out. Plus the Industrial Revolution moguls, the oligarchs like Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, what's his name, Cornelius Vanderbilt. These people who were the oligarchs, they wanted to push for child labor. Child labor, you believe that? This is how greedy capitalism is. So, but that didn't work out, or if it did, they only had it for a minimal period of time. But that shows you just how selfish and greedy it is. And it is the economics of Satan. It is the devil's economics, capitalism. But anyway, when it comes to physical fitness, especially for men of all ages that are locked down, maybe under quarantine during this pandemic, still, thanks to all those imbeciles that don't follow directions and rules and laws, it is very possible to get a complete workout at home. Never underestimate one of the greatest modern exercise tools ever invented, which is the rubber power band. The power band looks like a thick jumbo fettuccine noodle that is a continuous loop, and they usually come with a door anchor where, if you follow instructions properly, will be safe. It's great if you go on the road. It works fabulously with a thick, strong hotel room bathroom door. Works great. You can do it by putting the other end of the band under your feet, and you can easily do pyramiding and drop sets by simply spreading your legs, spreading your feet, or bringing them together. You can tie them, you can anchor them using what they call the lark, L-A-R-K, the lark knot, to any object that's sturdy, that's not going to ricochet and kill you. All right? You can use a lark knot to tie it to anything, a fence post, what do you call it? A signpost, an old-fashioned radiator, a tree branch or a tree trunk. You can use whatever, as long as it's strong and secure. You can tie a lark knot, or you can, if you happen to be indoors, use the door anchor. But what you need to do is, the door has to be a strong door, not a flimsy door. And when you close the door, when the door anchor is secure, when you close the door and you're holding it by the door knob, make sure you give it an extra strong pull until you hear the click, because only then is your door anchor secure, and it will not ricochet like a slingshot and hurt you. I cannot overemphasize that bit of advice when it comes to power bands. Now, some of you ladies might have the tubing with the neoprene rubber handles at the end. They're fine if you get the thick ones. You can find them, the thick ones, at a store called Five Below, where everything is $5 or less. But you have to remember something. They're not as durable as the flat power bands. They tend to crack and split and snap where the tubing excuse me, put my mug down, where the tubing meets the handle. Okay, right around that section. And the reason why they split and crack is because people have a tendency to hyperextend tubing and bands. Never stretch them beyond what they were meant to handle. Of course, the more you stretch tubing or a band, the higher the resistance. The less you stretch them, like the closer you step towards the starting point, the less resistance. So that's how you can do pyramiding and drop sets, right? Pretend this is a door, and your exercise band with the anchor is attached to the door. Let's say it's attached to the lower part of the door. Well, the farther away you step, the greater the resistance. The closer you step to the door, the less resistance. So if you take one step, if you straighten out the tubing, that is equal to a pair of light dumbbells. If you take it, after the band or the tubing is stretched out straight, if you take one step backwards, you're going up. It's like going higher in a pair of dumbbells or a machine or a barbell. Then you take two steps back and it's going even higher. So you're doing like pyramiding, and then when you go to failure, but don't go beyond like 2 or 3 steps. That'll be hyperextension. Then you start gradually taking small steps towards the point of entry. So that's how you do pyramiding and drop sets with tubing and bands at home or at the park. Just make sure, the most important thing, make sure you do your repetitions slowly and with perfect form. Meaning when you're coming up with the tubing or bands, make sure you do it in 2 seconds, 2 slow seconds, not less. And when you lower the tubing or bands, do it with a slow count of 4 seconds. Now you could take longer to come down with the tubing or band, just like with dumbbells. You could take longer. That's doing negatives. You get more results by doing the negative part of a repetition than you do doing the concentric, the flexing or concentric part of the movement versus the extending eccentric or negative part of the movement. You get more results in the slow negative. So that's just some sound advice for working out at home. You can also do calisthenics, like various push-ups on a pair of yoga blocks, which is much easier on the wrists and hands. No pain, no discomfort. Just go on YouTube and you can learn all the different types of push-ups out there. Do them slow, with perfect form, like I just explained. Some people that are able to do them, many are not. But if you're fortunate enough to be able to do pull-ups and chin-ups, they have these bars. That they're pull-up and chin-up bar that instantly attaches to a doorway with no screws or anything. It just has this neoprene rubber section of the bar that goes over the flap, the frame, I'm sorry, not the flap. It goes over the frame at the top of the door, above the door. So the way it's designed, it really hooks on really strong, and you can do your pull-ups and chin-ups within a doorway with no problem. Unless you weigh 500 or 600 pounds and you're wider than the doorway. You know, if you're built like Chris Christie, you can't do it. But if you need assistance in learning the pull-up, you can use the power bands, you know, the lightweight power bands. to help assist you. Or you can stand up on a step stool. You can put a step stool under the pull-up or chin-up bar, and you can do that. But all right, I covered low-cost, inexpensive physical fitness during this pandemic lockdown. I've covered politics today in regards of the pandemic. Okay, the pandemic itself, the science behind it all. I've covered deceptive, greedy, lying capitalism as it applies to the fitness industry and the charlatans that are ripping people off. I just want to say that I am exceedingly proud that my close friend, the safe, drug-free, strength training, competitive athlete, circular training, and powerlifting athlete, Mr. Jeff Zambello, will be participating in the Vintage Games, which will be done on location by way of webcam video. I'm very proud that he will be participating in that. It will be not only nationwide, but I think it's also worldwide. I think it's international Vintage Games. That's what's so exciting about these Vintage Games. And they have a Facebook page. I believe they have a website. I could be wrong. You can look them up, the Vintage Games. And if you are proficient at circular training and you are an exceptional circular training athlete, whether it be the kettlebell or the mace, you can enroll and participate in the competition. But you must have a decent, clear, like a high definition type of webcam. And if I was running the Vintage Games, I would insist that everyone does a close-up of a good calibrated scale where when you put an object on it, it always goes exactly to 0, and have that on the recorded video, and have the kettlebell or mace weighed on such a well-calibrated scale before starting the event, because people can cheat. People can cheat, and they do cheat, just like they lie about their physical prowess when it comes to strength and exercise. There's a lot of lying, bullshitting macho men out there that have too much endorphins flowing through them, or maybe alcohol, and they start telling fish stories, tall tales. Okay, I just want to say one last thing about the pandemic. Don't listen to the American big pharma, the big drug company propaganda, making the U.S. media and the famous celebrity doctors on the internet and on the lying mainstream media bash hydroxychloroquine and tell you that it doesn't work, because internationally the exact original protocol for hydroxychloroquine, which originally came from the quinine tree, because hydroxychloroquine, if you notice the spelling of the N, it was used originally as a malaria drug for almost 70 years. It's used for autoimmune afflictions, like lupus and so on and so forth. Now, hydroxychloroquine only works against any viral infection because it is a zinc ionophore, and what it does is you have to take the hydroxychloroquine with high amounts of zinc, like at least 200 milligrams of zinc. And what it does is the hydroxychloroquine, pretend this is the outer fatty membrane of a coronavirus, let's just say, or any virus, right? The hydroxychloroquine forces the zinc through the fatty outer membrane and into the interior of the virus, which it causes the virus to stop replicating and thus kills it. Okay, otherwise the zinc has usually a minimal ability to penetrate the outer membrane, even though zinc does boost your immune system, like vitamin D3, vitamin A, vitamin C, especially D3. At least 10,000 international units a day for maintenance. If you're sick, 20,000 units. So, but what hydroxychloroquine does, it forces the zinc, which must be at a high amount, inside the interior of the virus, penetrating its outer membrane, is a better illustration. Penetrating its outer membrane. I'm only doing this because most people on internet, on social media, are nincompoops. They're really not too intelligent. Just look at the American voter and those people protesting against social distancing and mask wearing. Now their numbers are spiking, and they still think it's a hoax. They still call it a hoax, especially those flag wavers that are still fighting the Civil War. Hey, Barack Obama never took your guns away. Stupid redneck hicks. See? Inside, through the membrane of the virus, pushes the zinc inside, which causes it to stop replicating and thus kills the virus. So between that and optimum nutrition with the proper potencies of vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, and immune system stimulators, not the far outdated RDAs, the recommended daily allowance, is ridiculously outdated. Ridiculously. 60 milligrams of ascorbic acid, vitamin C, give me a break. I mean, what is it, 15 or 30 international units of vitamin E? Ridiculous. Give me a break. You need much more than that. Much more than 60 milligrams of vitamin C. 400 units of vitamin D3? Insanely ridiculous. Not even 5,000 is enough. The vitamin D3 is the most common deficiency in the human race worldwide, because people get a lot less sun exposure these days, which is how the body creates vitamin D3 naturally. When the sun's radiation hits your face, your arms, your legs, about 30 minutes, your body produces vitamin C. But that's not the case worldwide. And vitamin C, just like magnesium, has hundreds of beneficial effects on the human body, including immune system boosting effects, and it's actually more of a hormone than a vitamin D3. So, and vitamin A is important too. I take 10,000 international units of A, 10,000 international units of D, 400 international units of natural vitamin E in a base of mixed tocopherols. I take selenium at 200 micrograms in my multi. I take separate chromium polynicotinate, which is a tad bit better than picolinate, at 200 micrograms. I take a great multivitamin for men called Nature's Way Alive. They have Nature's Way Alive for women too. So far, it's the best one-a-day multivitamin in existence. Forget about Centrum, made by a drug company. It's pitiful. The dosages in Centrum is a joke. What you need is optimum nutrition. Optimum nutrition. Okay, along with physical fitness is the true fountain of youth. Okay, this August 1st, 2020, I will become I will be 62 years old this August 1st. Oh, I am also drinking moringa powder, probably the most nutritious plant alongside spirulina in existence. Moringa powder in a fine powder, organic moringa. I got on Amazon Prime. I put 1 level teaspoon in maybe 16 ounces of ice water in a glass jar. I shake it up. You can add natural cane, panela, natural cane sugar. You can add honey. You can add anything to it, really. You can add, like I add organic, 2 tablespoons of organic flaxseed meal. Very medicinal and nutritious, rich in omega-3 fats, among other medicinal purposes. I let it sit for a while so all the lignins get really soft and saturated from the water. Same thing with the constituents and the fiber of the moringa, and it becomes a nice, super high nutritious health food. So the end of this show will be the promotion of organic moringa powder. Moringa. Look it up on the internet or Amazon Prime. MORINGA. Now, for some reason, the man by the name of Muhlegos, MUHLEGOS, was able to appear with his commentary on my show, but unfortunately Jeff Zambello and Anthony Laura have not. But I did get a blip. From, let's see, from Jeff Zambello. Let me see if he's down below here. Let me see. Oh, here we got some right-wingers. Oh, there you go. Jeff Zambello. There he is. Now let me say, I got this Pack Kebab, who's probably Red Rooster. He's a right-wing troll. Go ahead. Facebook is banning me. Well, you know what? Guys like right-wing pieces of shit like you, Pete Kebab, you have what they call keyboard courage. Oh, Muhlegos? I bet you're one of Red Rooster's aliases too. See, these guys. This guy's a right-wing troll that is being Mr. Damien the Wolf Owens is currently collecting personal information on his troll, and he is going to submit it to this man's government job. If he really does work for Homeland Security, he's going to submit it to his employers and get his ass fired so he can fulfill my dream. This right-wing troll piece of shit, who is the funniest looking motherfucker that ever lived. He's so ugly that when he was born, his mother, let me start over. He is so ugly that when he was born, the doctor slapped his mother instead of slapping him on the ass. So my dream is for him to lose his job, lose his career, for all the underhanded things he does on the air, and have him move back to his hometown in Rhode Island and become the town drunk, like Otis was on, I think, the Andy Griffith show. He is the administrator of a dictatorship on Facebook known as Honest Craft Beer Reviews. Well, it's not Honest Craft Beer Reviews, because if you're honest, they threaten to throw you off of the group. So it's actually a corporate fascist type of dictatorship, which right-wingers love. They love that. the original teachings of Karl Marx was corrupted by the Soviet Union and the mainland China, that was poisoned and suckered by the evils of the American capitalist oligarch, poisoned mainland China, and they fell for it. And now things are very different there. The best system, the fairest system known to mankind is what they have in Scandinavia and Canada. Mostly Scandinavia. Forget about Canada. Canada is a little too right-wing for me. Just a little too right-wing. I say Scandinavia. Now, this guy, why is social media... You know, China has the high-speed modern bullet trains. What does the United States have? Amtrak? That dinosaur? Yeah, don't forget, Joe Biden has hairy legs. They turn blonde in the sun. And the black kids like to pet it. And he loves young children to jump on his lap, sit on his lap. He really did say that. I'm for Bernie Sanders. He's on the ballot in New Jersey. Socialism #1. The American, what is it called? Democratic Socialists of America organization. I'm a proud member. And I wish we have a civil war so we can take out you fucking rednecks that are still fighting the first Civil War. Or maybe we'll get lucky and the super volcano will blow and take out all the red states, all you evangelical religious freaks. But unfortunately, Red Rooster is in Northern Virginia. His actual name is Douglas Smith, and him and John Starodumsky are from Rhode Island. Let's see. Yeah, you must work faster and harder. Yeah, I know about the tribe. I know about Mark Zuckerberg and his tribe. I know about the Wall Street tribe. I know their tricks. You know, according to the Bible, you know, all of the tribes were cursed by God. And the curse still applies. By the way, let's see what we got here. Elizabeth Warren stabbed Bernie Sanders in the back. She's a militant, man-hating feminist. They only want power. Their only objective is power, not equal rights. Now, this is the first time, gentlemen, that, Jeff Zambello, that I'm using MobCam. So, I have to... it's very hard for me to read the vast amount of data that you're typing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, where it's going to show up, I'm assuming it shows up underneath the video on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. But I will check it out later on when the show is over, which is going to end soon. Krispy Kreme, Krisky, Vintage Games, that's right, Vintage Games, Jeff Zambello. It'll be held on August 29, 2020. August 29, 2020, the Great Vintage Games will be held by distance. I mean, on video. You know, so nobody will get sick. Nobody will have those right-wing jerk-offs shoot their respiratory droplets on them. The bosun's whistle. I gotta go get it. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. You want it, you got it. You got it and more. You got it and more. The hotel bell that I forgot because it's a new program for the first time. It's my debut. All right. The levity bell. Remember, those carnival charlatans will be proudly inducted into the Little Jack Horner Joke Shop Hall of Shame. The ones that are doing the circular training seminars, the seminars, little Jews heart. Yes, the hotel bell for the world tour, when the groupies get his hotel number, which room he's staying at, the long stream of urine analysis that operates a forklift in a warehouse in Southern California, that pays very high rent so he can brag about the palatial estate he lives at in Southern California, next to the golf course, but only eats breakfast burritos through a drive-thru as before he goes home to the palatial estate. And don't forget telling me I couldn't contact any of his female friends because they were his friends. And also he receives payment for doing the seminars in cash in a hermetically sealed white envelope so the IRS does not find out about it. Oh, by the way, how is the clarity of my video and audio with this new program I'm trying called MobCam? Here it comes. Here it comes, the grand finale. Oh, I will be attending at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Ronald J. Tirio's YouTube channel, the one and only Wild Card Wednesday for the finest in top shelf beer, craft beer, and hard liquor reviewing. Tirio, spelled T-H-E-R-I-O-T. The man is from Louisiana. You have just left my first debut from MobCam. It is the end of July. I believe it is officially July 22nd, 2020. This is the pandemonium summer of 2020, unfortunately.